Hello, welcome to Walpole United WFC.
Welcome to All for United Women on the Fans Forum with me and Dio. Again, I've managed to wrestle the chair off John. Don't worry, if you hear some screaming, it'll be in tied up. I've got him sort of behind me, so that'll be fine. So yeah, how's everyone going, Connor?
Oh, you're so glad the women's side doesn't have an out of context, because that'll be clipped right up. Yes, I'm good.
Nat, how's it going? Great to have you on. Good, yeah. And Stu? Yeah, I'll take that as a yes as well. We'll try for Marty now.
I'm good. Yeah,
doing good.
Good. And Atanu at 12:30 Indian time. How's it going? I'll keep you awake, mate.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been a while since I've been here. Thanks for having me.
Perfect. Well, it should be a really good show. Great to have Nat on. And the really cool thing, obviously, we'll get into the main thumbnail later, but the really good thing is that Nat's going to tell us about a really exciting thing that Man United Supporters Club and Man United themselves and All for United have sorted out. So what have you got to tell us now?
Well, there's always buses that go to and from away games. It's been going since 2018. I think people know when we're away, it's basically like we're at home, wherever that is. You know, there's a lot of people there for Spurs. There's a lot of people there for Everton. But Brighton is the furthest trip of them all, and that's one we've got just before the last away day before Christmas. So the club have agreed they're going to put two. There's going to be a bus from around the Old Trafford area. So everyone in Manchester, I want you to get on it. Usually these buses are 30 quid, but close to Christmas bus. Obviously with help from the Manchester United, we have a bus, £20, mate. £20 from Manchester to Brighton and back again. Can't get it cheaper than that. People who are thinking of driving, can't get it cheaper than that. Trains, no way you can get them cheaper than that. There's also going to be a stop in the middle, so anyone who's around that Birmingham area, there'll be a pick up there. But you know, it's just the best thing. It's the best thing, the bus. I know you were on the Scotland bus, Andy. No, yeah.
I was on Leicester.
Leicester, but Scotland was the first one back together. We're singing all the songs. That's what we always do. But I know me and you, Andy, have talked about sitting on the back row, having our snacks, having our
refreshments
and a speaker or something, you know, getting the songs going, singing songs, you know, like I said, Christmas hats. For me, it makes sense. It makes sense. If you support this women's team, if you've never been before, £20 down and back to Brighton. And it's what we needed. You know, we've seen a lot of other clubs, you know, putting to their supporters clubs going away. So think, you know, it's good that United recognise the support that they have that do travel, and they've put in to make sure like it's like a discounted price. And you know, I've seen a lot of people talking about, oh, you should want United to do this. Well, United are doing things. United are listening, and credit where credit's due. We've got to congratulate them and say thank you for doing this. And you know, people, we've got to show them that we want it, and there's an appetite there. So please, I'll retweet it from All for United. I've retweeted it from my own. If you don't know, come and ask me. If you're watching this a couple of days later, come and me or John or All for United. But, you know, NWSL, there's a travel account as well. Turn up, get supporting, get down and support the girls.
Yeah, 100%. I can echo that. I mean, I think most people that have started home and away just went on their own. You know, I pretty much went on my own the first time. I know a lot of people do. You're not going to be alone. You know, it's a big group of different people, different characters. You'll find someone to sit next to, no issues. And it'll be, it's hopefully going to be a big bus, you know, more a coach than a bus, to be honest. So that's going to be fantastic. I mean, let's be honest, it's Black Friday. So you want about a good deal. You know, that's going to be the best deal you've got today. Trust me. None of this 10% off rubbish, 20 quid there and back to Brighton. It's a 500-mile round trip from Manchester in total. So you work that out per mile, you can't beat that. So, yeah, I echo what Nat's saying. And, you know, anyone wants to discuss about what it's like, all of us have pretty much been on the bus. We'll talk to you, sort it out, nothing to worry about. It's a bit of an early start, but that's what coaches are for. to have a little nap. I'm sure Connor, I mean, I don't know any of the away from the men's, and Stu might have done that a few times. I don't know.
Just a bit.
But it should make it into a great occasion. And obviously Brighton, unfortunately, for our perspective, are getting quite strong at the moment. So it's going to be quite a tough game. Obviously they're currently in third, I believe, aren't they, in the league? So it should be one of them. But yeah, definitely. We'll probably mention it again before the end of the show. And yeah, get on it. If you're 50%, just go. Trust me, you won't regret it. But yeah, also talking about some good news, like with the thumbnail, we haven't really had a chance to talk about it in the past. Toon, our world-class player, has signed a new contract until June 2025. You know, that's an actual contract, a decent contract for once, and that's a real ringing endorsement for the club, I think. I'll start with you, Nat, again, because you know you obviously are one of our biggest fans. But I mean, how happy were you when you found that out?
I'm not sure about biggest fans, but no, I was delighted. Obviously, I'd heard about Kerry's one, and I was delighted for Kerry, but I was not expecting that Toon one. I could not believe it. I think as well the number 2025, I think it is, until it's about 4 years plus one, so it's basically a 5-year deal, isn't it? And it's just, that's what we need. We need that. We need to be tying these players down. I think me and John had a show and we were just saying these are the players out of contract. I mean, we did say Ella's got like an additional one, but, you know, I thought, 3 years, 2 years plus one, 5-year deal basically. And that just shows, well, the ambition, because she talked about it. She said the ambition of this club matches me. So we must be doing something right. It's definitely there. I mean, she loves United, so I don't think she'd go anywhere else. But let's not get it twisted. There was people looking at her. You know, there was big clubs looking at her. I know it's in the title, isn't it? But definitely I know Chelsea wanted to sign her. Probably still do. But, you know, it's no way. I know Real Madrid were looking at her as well. No way, mate. Man United through and through.
Well, Emma Hayes, you can't get all what you want, can you, dear? What a shame. Connor, what was your views on it?
Yeah, I think that's the important thing. Like Nat said, there's bigger, well, not bigger, but better teams, I guess, in the league positions that are sniffing around. And it was important. It's the length of the contract, I think, that is the important bit. And the second bit that I wanted to mention on this contract thing, she signed it earlier quite early in the season. When you think about it, we might not get Champions League. We're all hoping we do, but we might not. So to sign it now, not knowing where the season might go, you know, we might drop to 5th or 6th. We might get 3rd. We don't know. It's an interesting, and that just shows her commitment to the club, but also what conversations has she had with Mark, with the club about the ambition, because there must be something there for her to sign that long of a contract and early in the season as well. But yeah, I'm delighted as anyone. I said a few weeks ago that she's the closest to, you know, world class that we've got, and I stand by it. And you know, tying down our best players is what big clubs do. You know, you saw it with Chelsea a few weeks ago. Sam Kerr obviously signed an extension. That's what you do. You keep your best players, and it's good that we're finally doing that. And you know, hopefully some more. But yeah, it's the length of the contract and early in the season that surprised me. But yeah, over the moon with that.
Yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it? I must admit. Were you surprised, Marty, when it happened?
Actually, I think it's a good fit. I think it's a good fit for Mark. And Tooneys been one of those players that maybe he plays her 9, maybe he plays her as a 10, but he's always playing her. And she is the one who, within his scheme, in terms of when it comes to the attacking, it's really coming through her. She's had, I think if we go back and look at it, she's had either most or nearly most of all the opportunities on the offensive from the beginning of the season. So I am really, really thrilled by it. I agree with Connor. I was surprised that it occurred this early in the season, because right now we're sort of trying to tread water and keep our head above right now, because we're not swimming forward, and we're hoping the tide doesn't take us back. You know, it's like one of those things.
There's some skin and metaphors coming out there. You got it from in America.
Well, hey, we got lots of idioms over here. They work.
What about? I'm sure it's similar thoughts for you, Stu. I mean, it's good, isn't it, for tactics as well?
I think it's an exceptional business decision by the club for once, which has completely surprised me. Because when you look at the quality of footballers in the women's game, tying down one of the brightest players is the right thing to do. And from a business decision. From a personal decision from the player, I tend to agree with Connor in that. I think that she's obviously seen something in, behind the scenes that we're not privy to about how Skinner wants to be, maybe not this season, but potentially next season, what he wants to do, potential signings he wants to bring in, the way that he wants to set up. And I'm sure we'll touch on it briefly, but with the involvement of Vraniak in the first team now for the men's, and when he does become sporting director, which is probably what he'll do, he'll start to oversee the women's side as well. And he's a very, very astute customer, is Ralph. And I think at last, as a club, I can see some kind of continuity likely to happen from next season onwards. So it's a great move for both parties, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. And the Tanu, we hope as United fans this is the case, but what factor of it do you think that she's United through and through has actually had on this? That she's going to get the most playing time with us apart from anything else. So
I think, I think in this season as well, we've seen that Mark Skinner likes to build his team around Ella Toon. If she's playing as a false nine, he'll add the required players on the wings or whatever he wants to do. So I think she knows that she's going to perform well, and she is sort of the nucleus of the team right now. So from that perspective, I think she'll be happy to stay because she'll be getting the game time, which she wouldn't be getting if she went to Chelsea. We are seeing it with Lauren James. So I think it's a good deal, and we don't see such long deals like till 2025. We usually don't see these types of deals. So as a fan, I don't have to worry after every 2 years that Ella Toon's contract is getting up. So I think with that perspective also, it's a good deal.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, as I say, I think we've got a few that we want to tie down as quickly as we can, and I'm really glad that it was. And it's funny, if anyone's listened to the interview, she gets all fangirly over the fact she could have held Ronaldo's pen, because apparently it was the one that he used to sign recently, which was just a really sweet moment. And as I think Nat mentioned as well, Carrie Jones, another fantastic player, Toonie 2.0. What a find. Maybe by accident, hopefully not by United. Maybe they're going to sort the scouting out a little bit, and what a brilliant way that she can develop through Ella Toon. She's going to develop, and she's already developed so much. And I think that's what's so good about our players. We are developing, and a lot of them are on the young side. So yeah, obviously linking to players. Connor, what's your topic?
Well, you know me. I like to throw an awkward, difficult question out there. So it's
John not here. John doesn't want to normally throws it today.
So this is for the panel and for everyone in the comments. So I'm quite interested about this. It's a yes or no, and just explain your reasons why. Would you accept us signing a couple of players in January if it meant we had to lose some key players in the summer next year, i.e., Jackie, Honor, somebody like that? Or would you want the flip side? Would you be happy if we signed all of those players, locked them down for 4 or 5 years, but we didn't sign anyone? I'm just intrigued to see which one or which way people would side on that.
Go on, that.
I'd lock down the players that we've got there. I think we still will sign, but I think this is just me talking now. I don't know anything, but Honor's got a new agent. The agent that Honor's got is more has English-based. It's got Spanish players, but has got English-based Spanish players. I know it sounds like so Vicky Losada's on the new agency, but our old agency had a direct link to Barcelona, and that's sort of where we think she might go on her potentially. So it's interesting. She's moved from an agency that was basically best friends with Barca. I'm not saying that still can't happen, to an agency that's more distant and maybe had a bit of disagreement with Barca. So, I don't know whether she'll be locked. She'll do 2025 on her, but I'd definitely take a 4-year or 3-year plus one if Honor did it. Jackie will be the difficult one. But for me, I think if, say if you offer me Stina Blackstenius now or Jackie signing a long-term 3-year, say, contract, there's only one winner, mate. And whether that's me being sentimental or what, Jackie wins it all day long. And, we need to sign down Russo, I think, as well. That's another one who's maybe got a year and a half left. I don't know how much. I know Stanley's also potentially out of contract. But I think that squad, the foundations are there, the building blocks are there. So I think if you can, I'd rather keep the players that you have. Yeah, maybe lose some if we want to, but I'd rather keep everyone we want to keep all the top class. And then if we can't add in January, okay, be disappointed, but I'd add in summer definitely. So if we've got that nucleus and then build. So that's what, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see that. I mean, it's funny because I might want to be last because I think I've got a politician's answer, which always goes down well. But yeah, I mean, what's your view on it, Stu? I mean, obviously you're a bit more dispassionate coming over from the sort of the men's side a little bit. There's your options. You can tie down Honor or Jackie et al., but not get anybody else in January or possibly even summer. Or you can get somebody in summer, get somebody in January and summer. What's your thing?
Yeah, squad balance for me is the key thing. I tend to look at squad balance over players' abilities because there are certain players that we've not seen on a regular basis, Bo Risa being one. So it's difficult to put a real comparison about what you should bring in and what you shouldn't bring in to replace current squad. But I always look at squad balance anyway. So any team or any good, solid football team has a good, solid squad and a balance of players that can accompany each other on the pitch at any given time. So that's not just you starting 11. It's another 3 or 4 players that can just fit in seamlessly to the starting 11, which we don't have currently, and that's a big problem that Skinner's got to resolve. So we're going to have to make signings in January, and there's probably 2 or 3 key positions and key areas where we're going to have to make those signings, because the biggest problem that you have in any football team is complacency. And if you've got 4 or 5, 6 or 7 players that are playing on a regular basis and they've not really got any competition within the squad as a whole, it becomes an issue. And I think that's where we're at currently for Mark. Now, whether Mark can deal with that, whether he's identified that, whether he can understand that, I'm not so sure. And I think that's his biggest thing that he's got to do. So for me, if I was him in between now and January, or actually, I would have started identifying players around September time, what I want for squad balance and squad depth. And I think that's the key area. Now, would I tie down players? Absolutely. I think you've got to tie down your best players where you can. And that's why I think the Tooneys decision was an excellent and an exceptional business decision. And there are certain players that need contracts extending. I totally agree with that. But what's happening with the women's game now is it professionalizes more and more each year, that more money is pumped into it. Then you'll start to find it will start to almost mimic the men's game in the way that it starts doing its buying and its selling, its salaries, its contract lengths. You won't get your 6 months, 12 months, 18-month contracts that you're seeing at the moment. You'll get 2, 3 and 4 years, because as the women's game grows, players will become more valuable in terms of their transfer fee. We've got it in the men's team at the minute. We've got 2 or 3 players we can make good money on in January. And so Connor, as always, provides a interesting question, which will always add to debates and will always offer differing viewpoints. But my viewpoint is, providing we can get the balance correct moving forward, if you have to move 1 or 2 players on to achieve that, you do. If you can keep the players that you've got in the nucleus of the team and build around that with signings, then you do it that way.
Before I bring in, obviously, Marty and Atana, I think I saw Nat twitching a bit. Have you got a response there?
No, my response would just be that less about balance, but more about the competition. I feel like the competition is there. Might not be there, we're going to have a direct Tooneys to come in, but in terms of, for me, I want to see more of Vilde Risa. Sorry. I feel like she'll add so much more to this team. I think we had Yash on yesterday, and he's talking about what we lacked last year was sort of balls through the middle, through balls, connecting the midfield and attack, creating chances, and that's what she does best. But we're not seeing a lot of her. I think Ivana Fuso, we need to see a lot more of. I think he's playing his wingers. He's got his players that he likes, his players that he trusts. You know, the experienced players who have been in Man United a long time. But I think we need to see a lot more of Fuso now. And I know what he's doing with Carrie. He's obviously protecting her. But as well, I'd like to see a lot more of Carrie Jones. So they're just three players that I think would... I agree with him when he says depth. We need more depth. We need to add the striker. We know we're light in strikers. But there's two girls there who I would like to see rotated with a lot of girls that are sort of basically guaranteed, it looks like at the minute in minutes. And whether that's for whatever reason, Mark, I don't know. But for me, Fuso, she's in the 2 games that she's played, she's laid down a marker now, and I think she needs to be at least coming on for 15, 20 minutes in a game, you know, especially if we're losing. Why not? What we're going to lose? Another goal. I'd rather see her come on and maybe lose 3-0. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were discussing obviously the fact it's Black Friday. I'm hoping Laura Bassett went shopping and got Mark a watch because, you know, he does have a habit of trying to do a sub at 88 minutes. And obviously, or he even, I think, tried to get her on twice and couldn't even get her on. So let's hope that happens. Well, I'm going to throw in my grenade. I'm not honestly not doing it. This is my view on it. I would love to get, I think our squad, I think we need a few more in before we get one out, but I know that isn't how it works on the women's game. If you put a gun to my head and said Jackie or Blackstenius, I'd say Blackstenius because I think we desperately need a striker. And Jackie is a top-class midfielder, but we are not heavy at all. We're light in all areas, but we're heavier in midfield. And we need the goals desperately. And, you know, upstairs, my first shirt has got Jackie Groner's name on the back. It's not a personal thing at all. But I think, you know, and if it was Jackie on, I like that great show we did on All for United Women a few things a week ago, I'd actually pick Honor because she's a top-class defender and she scores goals, which arguably isn't the job of a defender. It's like a nice bonus. Whereas a midfielder, obviously you'd like to think they'd get on the score sheet a bit more often, and Jackie's yet to do that for United. Before anyone hates me a bit more, I'll go hide and ask Atani what your view on it is then.
Yeah, I think if we have to choose between Ona and Jackie, I'd also go with Ona because we have a player like Vilde Borisa who can come in place of Jackie. We know Mark Skinner doesn't play her more often, which he should be doing right now. And I also agree with what Natalie said. We do have the players. We do have Fuso. We do have Carrie Jones. We do have Vilde Borisa. It's about Mark Skinner utilizing these players. Of course, he didn't get the players that he wanted because he came into this team a bit late into the transfer window. But, you know, a good manager uses his squad perfectly, and that's something that he's doing right now. So his in-game management skills are something that I am very critical of. I think as the season goes by, we will see more contract renewals. But right now, I'd like to see Ona Bhatia and Jackie Groenen getting those contract renewals. Then focusing on the January transfer window, and you know, just have a plan, just have a proper plan. Even if it's the summer plan, just make the list right now and tell John Murto or Ralph Ragnick, whoever the sporting director will be, that okay, start looking for the players.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I think we're all gonna. I think you'll hear me scream from here when Honor signs again. I really hope that happens. Marty.
Well, this is like an either or because there's a whole bunch of parameters that, you know, aren't mentioned. And the bottom line is this: if Mark Skinner does not feel that player fits into his system, he does not play that player. Okay, which I think is very sad. He was stated as saying that this was quote model performance after the Man City, you know, FA. Hey, I take notes before I come on.
I know this is what he's saying. I'm just taking me back there. That's the problem.
Against Man City that we won. Okay, now he played Fuso. He played Borisa. He played Carrie Jones came on. All right. And the very next WSL game, Borisa got 3 minutes. Okay. That makes no freaking sense to me. None whatsoever. And Vicky License just mentioned that Katie Zellum's contract's up in the summer. And I would be very happy to never hear her contract renewal. Okay, but the bottom line is if he likes that player and he thinks that player fits into his system, that's who we're going to see on the field. So I would rather see him sign the players he wants and get a sense of what the hell this guy's trying to do, okay? And then figure it out, because I would not want Jackie or Ona. Did you see the look on her face at the end of the Arsenal game? If you touched her, you were going to be frying your fingers, okay? That's how hot she was, all right, in terms of just pissed. And I don't mean drunk. It's American pissed, okay?
No, it's all right. We get your TV shows occasionally. We know what it means. Don't worry.
So, I mean, she was livid at the end of that match. And I want Ona to stay in Man United, Red Devil. I want Jackie. I want who's the other one who's on the cusp? I want to see Boarisa play. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm very, very pleased with Toonie. I hope Russo stays, and I hope Leah gets to be Leah again. But the bottom line that I figured out in all these months of putting my head up against the wall is that if Mark Skinner does not see that player fitting into the way he wants them to play and he wants his team to play, they're going to be getting wood splinters. So
that's football.
I want him to sign who he wants. I want to see him do things. And I don't want Jackie Ona sign into contracts and then all of a sudden he doesn't see them fitting into the system. I would love, obviously Ona's been playing, but I also think he can do both. Like Stu said, he needs depth in the squad and he doesn't have a lot of competition for each of the positions, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how many people you can carry, all right, but it's got to be big. I mean, look at Chelsea, right? It's just a matter of how much they want to spend. So I think they can do both. I think they can get the players in on January, and I think that they can sign extensions. I just hope Mark figures out a way to fit the players in so that we get to see the high quality players. Okay. And then when he comes out and says that's the model performance, that the next time we see it, we're not trying to say, okay, I haven't seen Fuso yet. I haven't seen, Boarisa yet. I haven't seen these players where he said they had a model performance. So that's my point.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that's football. I hate to be blunt, but that's how football is. We've got it in the men's team at the minute. We've got 2 or 3 players you would consider that chances should have come a lot sooner than what they have. And there's a variety of reasons for that. I brought up in the comments. I got slapped down a few weeks ago about Boarisa. Maybe she doesn't train to the standards that Mark likes. I don't know.
She played yesterday, and she got subbed out in the 69th minute, and they slaughtered. I think they played Albania. I think
I haven't seen that, but there are occasions where players don't train properly. But international player or not, it doesn't matter. It's all about attitude and application. Connor will tell you, I talk about it a hell of a lot on the pitch. It's all about attitude and application. And you make a point about.
I think you get more attitude in the men's game than you get in the women's game.
Oh God, honestly. No, absolutely.
So I think women are much more agreeable to play however their manager wants them to play.
You get a lot more crybabies in the men's game. Trust me. They roll.
I do watch it every so often, and I think they're better actors.
Definitely. But what's interesting about systems, I talk about systems a lot actually, because I don't think Mark Skinner's playing the right system for our players, our quality players. I think he needs to adjust it.
I agree with that.
I think he's playing 2 or 3 players out of position. I don't think our wingers currently, as we sit today, are firing properly. Now, I want to talk about fitness a bit later on, and that's Mark's problem. So Mark is. From what I can see, Mark was installed way too late in terms of getting his preparation. He wasn't given the players that he wanted. I agree with that. And it's taken him a long time to get a blueprint with this current squad that he's got. And it doesn't help, actually. And I think it's fair to say this to him. It doesn't help when we're playing a clump of 2 or 3 games and then we're off for international breaks for 2 weeks. It doesn't help with consistency, and the managers that are set in at the minute with Chelsea, for example, she's been there for about 10 years, hasn't she? I don't know how long the Arsenal guy's been there, and I know the City guy's having problem. But if you've had a manager that's been in situ for 2 or 3 years, it's easier to build and mould a squad around these issues that you have with the international break. For next season and the season after, it's got to stop. They've got to get the international football sorted a lot better than what it is now, because we're only, 8 games in, aren't we, to the WSL? And it's not enough, and we've been going since September. So,
Stu, we've had this problem since we came in.
We had it last season.
They want to add more international breaks. They want to have 2 World Cups. So Martin, I know Jill Ellis is an advocate of international football over club football. But yeah, the only thing I just want to touch on, it's just
by FIFA,
can I just answer
money off of it.
Can I just answer a comment here?
Yeah.
Just quickly, Vicky Lyons. At what point did I say Barca was crap? Tell me, play me back the video and tell me where I said that. I said she might not be training well. There's a bit of a difference. I'm sorry, Andy, but I'm not putting up with shit like that.
No, it's at the end of the day, it is a lot of us with sort of jumping in and out. That's it.
That's fine, but I'm not having that. I didn't.
Can I answer my own question after that's finished?
Go on, Matt.
The one thing, basically, what Marty says. Mark says it was a model performance when Bo Reese and Stanley were in midfield. Then when Ladd played, he said Ladd is one of the best players in this team.
Yes.
So seems to be saying a lot of things and doing something different. I'm not here to say this player, that player should play. But if you're saying that about, say, a Bo Reese in midfield and a Ladd, why are we not seeing it? He's preaching to the converted with the whole Bo Reese, Jackie. We know about Ladd. We know about Jackie. We know about Bo Reese. I think it's deeper. That's just what I think. Whether I know, I don't know. I think it's deeper as to why people are playing and others aren't. I don't think it's a case of play your best players. I don't know.
I don't think Mark uses subs well. I think he should be subbing more. It seems to me that we score early. We score. As bad as we don't have the problem not scoring. We do score. We didn't score against Arsenal, but we had a really good shot. And Arsenal plays a very high press, and pretty much they were getting the ball back before we even got into the final third of it. And I'll just be really quick, but I just see our people wearing out toward the end of the match, and that's why we're giving up late goals. And that late goal is even giving us a draw. We're losing the 2 points, or we end up losing the match. Okay, which is and I just think that I look at the other team subbing, and maybe in Mark's mind, he doesn't feel he has the players to sub in for the system he wants to play, and unless he has that, he doesn't want to put somebody in there and just allow him to play. Okay, he thinks that's a disaster. I sort of think that the disaster is him not trusting the professionals that he has, because it's not like he doesn't have good players. Okay, yeah. And I just keep thinking, it's like, well, you got to give him a chance. And if you had fresh legs, maybe they wouldn't score and we end up losing points.
I'll just jump in a bit because I want to kind of give his view on his own topic a little bit there as well. But what I would say with Skinner is I think he's come in a little bit naive. I think he thought he could have a nice little evaluation season with his little book and a little pen and have a nice little write down, and then he can have a little chat with a coffee at the end of the season and work out what he's doing for year 2. As Nat would say, nah, mate, it's Man United. And I think he's forgotten that. And obviously it's come with the Sky deal, and it's come with the fact it's a lot more professional, a lot more eyeballs, a lot more views, even on BBC and internationally as well. And I think suddenly he's sort of been shook about a little bit, and someone said, right, you got to get your shit together, and actually you're going to have to try and make this season work as well, Mark. Nobody's going to take an evaluation season. If you have an evaluation season, you're going to be in Timbuktu next year doing under 12s. You need to really focus about what we're going to do and when we're going to do it. And I think the club's had a surprise as well. I think that obviously, as you say, he was in quite late. God knows why. Whether or not it was, as I said, with Casey when that was agreed, whether it was the NWSL or Orlando Pride, maybe wanted a bit of money. I don't know. Nobody knows. But it's the way it was. But yeah, I'll let Connor give his view, as we've all sort of done it, and then we can maybe open it up to.
I can't even remember the original question. We bounced around like everyone's topic without even knowing it. I think, my view is, I said it on that Nat and John show about contracts a few weeks ago, you keep your best players, you add to it. That's the way a big club works. That's the way you improve a team. Because if we buy good, I get it, it is all about balance, like Stu was saying. But if we sell all of our best players and just replace them with good players, you're never going to improve as a squad because you're just going to stay where you are. We need players and Marty's bang on as well. We're all talking about Skinner needs to sign players that suits his system and the way that he wants to play.
Do we know what his system is?
I do. Well, you can work it out.
Okay.
I disagree slightly with you, Andy. I think Skinner we don't know the conversations he had with the club when he came in, but I think this year he was probably given a little bit of leeway. I think the demise of City has added a bit more pressure than he probably didn't have at the start of the season because that gap has opened up that wasn't there when he came in. Nobody expected this demise of City to drop so much. Obviously, they're in 2 behind us now. But yeah, in regards to the original question that I said, transfer window or contracts, it's got to, even though this wasn't an option I gave you guys, it's got to be both. You've got to tie down your best players and you've got to add to it in January.
So you're the politician then. Oh, that's
Your original question was either or.
Yes,
you had to pick one or the other.
I'd go for a transfer because I do think we're very light in attack and we are stacked in midfield.
I'll take that back. You folded too quick then, Connor. You
but I think midfield is a place that he could sub and change offensively, change to defensively. He could really make a lot of changes by changing the people in the midfield.
Can I just say, and then Stu go, sorry, but you saw Connor about, we don't want to lose our best players, then just bring in sort of good players. I'm not trying to be funny. That's what happened in the summer. We pressed Tobin, Lauren James, very, very, very Tobin as well. Lauren James, very, very high quality players. I like Martha Thomas. I wanted to do well, but can't compare, say, a Martha Thomas, Kristen Press to what we've got. I mean, obviously Russo, but that's like a new signing. We need to stop doing that. We need to bring out the big money, get it all sorted. But let's see what the club do. Go on, Stu.
Go on, Stu.
I just want to make a point about training and the lack of probably the time he's having to work on exactly what he wants to work on, because I don't know when they're training. I don't know whether they're training for 2 or 3 hours a day, whether they're training for 5 hours a day. You don't know who turns up for training, who doesn't. You don't know who's late, who isn't late. You don't know who's fit, who isn't fit. You don't know who's looking after their own fitness and all of this kind of stuff. And this is what fans have got to understand, how a professional club is run. It's just because you're an international footballer, you've played 1 million times for Argentina, it doesn't necessarily mean you're the greatest thing since sliced bread. Okay, you've got to adapt. There are worse players in teams that collectively come together and are unstoppable. They might not be the best technically, they might not be the quickest, they might not be the strongest, they might not be the tallest, but they come together and they play. They play together because they're instructed well. Nobody can tell me, and Connor would agree with me here, that Mark Skinner is instructing correctly what he wants to do. He is not getting his message across. It just isn't happening. Now, there's a lot of issues there. He's got a lot of issues. He's learning the WSL, I'm guessing, but he might not be getting the time that he needs with the players to implement his system. And you can't forget that. You can't just sweep that under the carpet. So it's quite critical that people understand that. Come and have a go at you if you like.
Go on, Marty.
Okay, my point would be this, is he's a professional head coach, okay? That means he's had to take a lot of courses and lessons in order to get a certificate and some sort of license to be able to be hired as the manager of Manchester United.
Yeah, UEFA A coach, I think, is an A license. Yeah.
So he has that. All right. So therefore, technically, he should be able to apply an adjustment to his overall system, because any head coach that is playing the exact same system against every opponent, I don't think they win the ones that they can win when their system works. But they don't win the ones, that they could win if they don't make slight adjustments. Okay, and I don't think you're going to disagree with me on this.
No, I'm not. I'm not going to disagree.
Okay, and I haven't really seen him adjust.
Yeah.
For the team that he's facing. Okay.
Sure.
So,
Well,
so let me fire this
Arsenal
one.
just
has
let's juice out his position a little bit.
press. You know, Man City had to be a little bit different, but gosh, their starting lineup is essentially your England national team. Okay,
in essence-
Not anymore.
in
We've got
essence-
5 of us lot in England tomorrow. But go on,
essence, Martin, I
go on.
totally agree with you. But player responsibility then has got to come into it. It's the players on the pitch that have got to decide, because when you're on that pitch 11v11 and it's not quite working, you're in the best position peripherally to work out what you can do. You can make your little adjustments, and this is where I'll tell you something for nothing, Marty. We don't do it in the first team at the men's team. The men's team don't do it. The men's team sometimes go around like robots. And I said a couple of weeks ago that sometimes players have got to go rogue in a team. Look, that isn't working, Mark. This is going to work for us. Let's try this. There's no conversation and communication. You can hear it at Lee between the players occasionally. I need you back 10 yards. I need you forward 10 yards. Slightly to the left. Hug the touchline. They don't talk about this and player responsibility. So I 100% agree with you when you're talking about a professional coaching system, but he's then got to empower the players during the match. If it's not working, find a solution. And we're just not doing that. For whatever reason, the players aren't doing that.
I do think that you're absolutely right that his communication isn't what it needs to be to get his point across, because I think the players then end up starting to, as Connor has pointed out in weeks of podcasting, is that they start reverting back to what they're used to and what had worked.
Yeah.
Okay. And part of it is some players are reverting, other players are trying to continue a system, and then we look like utter chaos on the pitch.
Nah.
I just want to touch on the whole not training but like fitness thing. I think there is a thing of it. That doesn't mean players aren't training well or whatever. I think players will do what they're doing. Players will always do that. Players will always give 110%. That's the one thing I cannot accuse these girls of ever not doing. And even Mark saying it, he's not accusing them of ever doing it. I think Bo Risa is a top quality player, period. The end. Yeah, I think she's probably, if you look at it on paper, probably the highest midfielder, probably next to Jackie that we have. But what I will say, when Jackie came in, took her time to adapt. And I know that Mark even talked about Bo Risa. It was, oh God, what game was it? After the Spurs game, because there was a Norway journalist there, and he asked, why is Bo Risa not playing? And Bo Risa, and he said, she needs to adapt. And that's not saying, oh, Bo Risa, this and that. It's just saying the league that she's come from, she needs to get used to the WSL. But then I agree with what Marty says. How can you then say that, but then say, oh, it's a model performance, and then drop her? Makes no sense. The way he's giving, it's like you say, Stu, his ideas isn't going across, so it's like he's giving mixed messages. I know you're always going to praise the players when they have performances. Yeah, boys, for me, I just think he needs to mix it up more. He does have the depth in certain areas. Yes, we need more depth up top. But I do think there is an element of we started late because, I mean, look at the Arsenal manager. He came in at the same time as Mark, but I think they had a more, how can you say, planned out, because Joe Montemero, who's the manager before, said he was leaving in January. So they had all that time to plan, whereas Casey just left us in the end of literally a week before the season ended. And I think it was just chaos. I think it was a bit chaos already, but then it was just even more chaos when she left. They tried to probably implement what she wanted, but obviously when she's not there, I think we need a lot more probably coaching team. I'm hearing his coaches come in, this coach left. They need coaches, they need people. Arsenal is a setup that one man can walk in and it's all there, everything's there. You know what I mean? Because they've been going for so much longer. And then it comes back to what Mark said, investment. When I heard him say investment, I don't think it's just the first team. That's what a lot of people think with the men's team. Oh, well, he's spent 100 million on Ronaldo or whatever. No, investment is infrastructure, stadium, training, coaches, I don't know, physios, having a TV where you can read, watch, and I don't get involved because that stuff bores me. But investment, if he just wanted signings, he would have said signings, he would have said transfers. He said investment. And that means everything to me. I'm not saying it's not there because I do know they are investing. You know, when I used to go and watch the under-21s when he first started in 2019, there was one coach, Charlotte Healy. Now she's got a whole team around her. So the investment is there. but is it moving at the rate that we want it to be? I think we've shot up to basically like a top 3 team, but maybe the investment isn't there. And it's the same with the men's team. You know, we're saying we want to win a league for the men's team, but if you look at maybe the facilities, the stadium at Old Trafford, is it that top of the standard? Probably not. And I think this is what a lot of people are pushing for now with the fan-led review, supporters boards, all those kind of things. That's why people run on the pitch. I didn't run on the pitch, but it was less about, you know, people on Twitter might think, oh, well, they didn't make this signing. Forget the signing. I'm not interested. I'm more interested in what money you're putting in to our training, our stadium, our coaching staff. Everything should be top of the range, but it's not. And then, obviously, if it's not for the men's first team, what do you think it is for the women's? And, you know, we're not going back over that thing. I think there is support, but it's not coming at the rate that we're growing, maybe. And I don't know. So
Okay.
I know everyone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so just got to make sure you're wait, mate. I know it's late in India, so come on, let's say you can't get into it. I know I've seen you on Twitter. You can be as loud as I can. So come on, let's hear your view on it, and then move on to your topic as well.
Yeah, I do agree with what Stu said. Sometimes players need to be held more accountable. They need to be responsible for whatever they're doing on the pitch. And I'm not blaming the players. I'm just saying that maybe put in more intent. They are doing well enough, but that extra push is needed. But at the same time, it's up to Mark to select the perfect starting 11. If he isn't changing the players, if he's sticking to the same starting 11, that you have to ask questions to the manager as well. And I think right now we are seeing, like Marty also said, after the City game, he was very happy in the press conference and in the post-match interviews. He said, okay, this team is doing well. But then he takes out Ivana Fuso, he takes out Vilde Borisa, and he places in the old players that were there before. So I think with that respect, our criticism of Skinner's in-game tactics and him picking the starting 11 is justified. But at the same time, yes, players need to put in more intent towards scoring more goals, because you can't. It's not a FIFA game that the manager controls the controller to control the players. So I think, a bit of both.
There you go.
And,
see, yeah. Nice, and there we go. Get more animated for me. Yeah, no. As I say, I think at the end of the day, it's an interesting call he's made for investment. I must admit, like Nat said, I did interpret it a bit more player based, but thinking about it, it makes sense about it being logistically. There are certainly players that I think we're not carrying many left. I mean, most players there isn't a big enough squad to be carrying people. There's a couple of changes I would make. And maybe it is because of the system, or maybe he is actually saying, give me a war chest for January or give me a war chest for summer. I know he said judge me on 2 transfer windows or something like that at some point, didn't he? Which makes you think he does want to go shopping. So that's hopefully the thing. I mean, just picking up on his tactics, I don't know. I mean, with Casey, we used to go down, and I didn't see a change, and she was stone faced and didn't really make many in-game changes either. So maybe it's a bit of an improvement, but we're not fully there yet. But yeah, I think with fitness is an interesting question, because there is issues in midfield, and there is players that you wouldn't necessarily imagine shouldn't be starting, and players that you think, actually, why isn't they starting? But yeah, let's move on to
Andy. Sorry, just very quickly, if that was fitness isn't just in midfield though. By the way, fitness is in attack as well. I think just quickly on the back of that, just on the whole squad, I think there's a lack of. There's about 6 or 7 players I can pick up on that don't look fully fit for like 40 minutes of the game. You're like, right, okay, yeah, they're doing the sprints, they're doing it, and then at half they come after half time, absolutely shattered. And I think you can see it. I think it's against Arsenal. When the penalty decision was taking its time, the players come out, they are so out of breath, some of them, and you're looking at like they shouldn't be that out of breath. You're looking at Arsenal, they're really energized, they're up for it. So whether that's, I think it was Nat, you said that maybe didn't we lose a fitness coach in the summer or something like that? So if that's having a knock-on effect, something's not right with some of the squad, because they can't seem to keep up. It's not like we're playing every 3 or 4 days every week. A lot of these players don't go away with on international duty, so there's no reason really why we should be so. I don't know, lethargic's the only word I can think of at times, because it's not effort for me, because you can see they are trying. I just don't think they've got it in their legs, or whether it's breeders and things like that.
So,
I'm not
so
sure.
without,
But
They
definitely.
look gassed.
yeah, without flogging the same horse, then I was going to bring fitness up as my topic, so I may as well just add to that. This goes
I'll bring it in a bit more for us. Yeah,
That's one of the reasons why I'm wondering why he's not subbing in fresh legs.
Yeah. So this goes back to, I'm going to get shuttered again in the comments, but this goes back to training. Okay. The club is responsible for the players' fitness, but here's the thing. The players are also responsible for their own fitness. And in-game managing your own fitness is absolutely imperative when you're playing 90 minutes of football. And if Mark can't see it, I don't know whether Mark can see it, Marty, or the coaches can't see it, that players are flagging. And players are flagging sometimes way before half time, let alone in the second period. They're tired. And as a player, it's up to them to keep their level of fitness to the highest level. And I think we're falling way, way short. Now, whether it is to do with the fitness coach or not, whether it's to do with the way that they're being trained during the week, whether they're being overtrained during the week, so they're shattered when they come to a game. It happens. We've seen coaches that do that. Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool tended about 3 years ago to fade away in the second half of the season because their fitness was so intense. Their fitness training was so intense. It took them a good two or three seasons to get used to it. Now, maybe Mark Skinner's doing an intense fitness sessions during the week. We don't know this, of course, and maybe the players aren't used to it. Leah Galton, to me, looks absolutely dead on her feet. Actually, when she walks out to the to line up for the kickoff, she looks knackered. I don't know whether she's carrying an injury or whether she's not looking after herself or whether she's overtraining. And this is the problem. Going back to some players that aren't playing, we don't know what happens on a daily basis. We haven't got a Scooby. We're not allowed into Carrington to go and look at what's happening during a weekly training session or a daily training session. So we don't know whether he's ragging them. We don't know whether they're all passing their bleep tests. We don't know whether their lung capacity is what it should be. This is down to the physios, the doctors, and as Nat quite rightly says, the analytics side of it. The analytics side is absolutely huge when it comes to fitness issues because a good analyst will be able to say, Leah Galton, I'm sorry, I'm not picking on Leah Galton, I'm just using a player. Leah Galton at 60 minutes is dead on her feet. Comes back to what Marty was saying. If the analysts are talking to the coaches, get her off at 60 or get her off at 55. Make her do her work where she can't, where a capacity is, utilize her to that point and get her off. So there's a communication lack somewhere, and I don't know what it is. I don't know what your thoughts are on fitness.
I think, sorry, Nat, just before you quickly jump, I think that's one of the reasons we don't press as well. I don't think we can. Maybe last season took a lot out of them more than we thought. I don't know. I wasn't around much last season, but maybe it took more out of some of the players than we think. Nat, I'll be interested to hear your thoughts on it. But I think one of the reasons we don't press is because I don't think we can. I don't think we can sustain it over 90 minutes. You are on mute now.
Well,
if you are.
I have a question about this. It seems to me in the last bunch of matches that we will score a goal, and I agree with TJ Trex, who said that we need to score more goals. I agree with that. I am not, of the opinion that scoring one goal means we win the match. But what I've noticed is that after we get up, in terms of the score and we're ahead, we seem to have a fallback position. The entire team seems to play defense, as opposed to keep playing and you go into a defense in the latter part of just before the half and just before the end of the game, because you don't want them to score a goal on you before you go into the halftime, and you certainly don't want to give up a goal late in the match. Okay. And my question is to Stu, don't you think that if Mark started saying, okay, we've got the lead, let's just hold the lead. We're not going to attack. We're going to hold the lead. We're not really going to make those passes to score again. If we can score, go for it. But pretty much we're not going to organize that way. Don't you think that might have a negative effect on the mindset of the front players in the point of, well, I'm not really supposed to be doing what I'm supposed to be doing because our manager wants us to play this way. Okay. And I sort of think if I was an attacker or I was the offensive person, and more than not, it's like, okay, after the first goal, I have to go into defense and protect us. I think that would wear on me to the point where I'd be like, okay, I don't have that, that OS speed. I don't have that sort of thing. I do think that the way he's strategizing the matches, and it's been a couple of matches that he's been doing the sort of same kind of strategy. So it's got to be more of a strategy than a happenstance, okay? Yeah. Because it's happening more than once. Then I'm going, I don't think that's the smartest thing for us to be doing, and it hasn't worked out. I mean, we're sort of lucky we haven't lost. Those were draws, but for the most part, we're losing points. We're not losing. We're not in the loss column. So I think that might have a little bit of. I think it has a factor on the player's mentality on the pitch, because if you think you have a win, if you think you have 3 points within your grasp, you bust ass. That's just, it just is automatic. Your adrenaline's running. We can win this thing. And even if you're dead on your feet, your butt's moving.
Right, Atanu, I just need to move it on a bit. Atanu, if you respond to that and just maybe actually throw in your topic, and then we'll finish with Marty's topic, I think.
Yeah, to finish off with the finishing topic, I think, fitness topic, I think it's like I said, it's a bit of both. We need to bring in more backroom staff, like Nat said, bring in more analysts, bring in more physios or whatever you want. I think time is short, so I'll move on to my topic. My topic is we need to bring in we have John Murto right now for the men's team, and Ralph Ragnick comes in and gets into the consultancy role in this from June 2022. So maybe we need to have a separate sporting director for women's team as well, because John Murto did that role, did something with women's team before coming into the sporting director role of the club. So I think it will be better if we have a sporting director for the women's team separately, because I think Barcelona do that, and it really helps us to if manager gives a target and we aren't able to land that target. So if we want an alternative, so sporting director can help in that, because obviously we can't expect Mark to make the whole list. So something has to be done by the club level also.
Can I just do a clarifying question for anyone? Because I'm a big NFL fan, and obviously in the NFL side, you have your sort of general manager, the back office who does the draft and the free agency, and you have the sort of head coach that does what we would call a manager. I'm not too sure, I'll be honest, hands up, what a director of football does compared to a manager. So that's for anyone really. What is a direct? Yeah, I know for NFL, but what for football? Our football, obviously, Connor, Stu, on that. What does a director of football do or meant to do compared to a manager?
I'll keep it brief, because I think Stu's going to have a better answer than me on this. But just, I'll just keep mine brief on Atanu's topic.
If I don't know, others might not know in the comments.
Stu can answer that one. A director of football essentially is running the football side of the club, and I do agree with Atanu's point in terms of we do need 2. You need 1 for the women's team, 1 for the men, because the men's side, the Manchester United as a club is absolutely massive. The day-to-day running of Manchester United is huge. You cannot have one person running both teams if you want both teams to be successful. And it's not just, but you got to think the academies all the way down through the age groups. It's not just the first teams. So in very, very short, you do need 2. This Ralph guy will come in, obviously, as head coach of the men's, and he's moving up to a sporting director. I think sporting director is his exact title. Or like a consultancy role, that is very good. But whether he gets involved in the women's side, I'm not too sure. I don't think he will, to be honest. So that's where you need an equivalent on the women's side as well to oversee operations. But yeah, I think Stu's probably going to have a better description of what a director of football does.
I'll keep it brief as well. A good sporting director will have 2 general managers, 1 to oversee the first team men's, 1 to oversee the women's team. Connor's absolutely right. But what he is the direct link between the football and the main board, so to speak, the main commercial board. So he sits on the commercial board, and he will be responsible for the whole of the footballing side, the monetary side, the profit and the loss, the selling of players, the contracts, etc., etc. It's a huge, huge role that wasn't necessary 20 years ago. Because 20 years ago, Sir Alex would do everything. But the way that football has evolved, and the way that, and Connor's right, the way that teams are growing, The funding in the sport is growing massively. The interest in the sport is growing massively. It's become too big just for a manager. And for whatever reason, why the Glazers have sat on the sidelines without a director of football for so long, or a sporting director, it absolutely amazes me. So if I was Raniak, that's what I would do. I would oversee it. I'd have a general GM for the women's team. I'd have a GM for the men's team. The managers can get on with doing what they need to do, i.e., and the coaches, the analytics, they can do it. The GMs then, a little bit like, and Marty will be able to tell you a bit more about how American football is operated. They run the business side of the football. Okay, look at the have the meetings, identify players, etc., etc., etc. But they then approach the sporting director with their budgets, and that's how it works. It's a very, very straightforward process.
I just want to talk about what I know about the women's. We do have a GM for the women's. His name was dragged up through the Athletic articles across the summer. So if you read some of them, go back. I'm sure you can find them. And let's not, and this isn't me slugging off the Athletic. I think some of their points were recycled, but they were still points that needed to be made about potentially what's going on. And I think John was doing a great job. John, it was basically when we started, John and Casey went out, well, Casey mainly went out, drove around up and down the country, sat down, had tea with people. You want to sign for Man United? Ben, come in. I think she did that pretty much with every player. I know that when COVID hit, because I know that she went to see Jackie when we were in the Championship. She flew over to Germany to see her. So Casey was like a Fergie. She went and chatted to everyone before she signed them. She knew them inside out, kind of thing. I know that even when COVID hit, she still had Zoom conversations with Honor, Fuso, that kind of thing. So now Casey's gone and you've got Mark in. I do know there is this kind of, because I think Mark's even talked about this plan of all these players that we're looking at, and this player can join, and they know that. So like what I think Marty said it all, Tooneys says, if we don't get plan A, we still know that these are the other options that are available in the market currently at the minute. And I think that was sort of triggered by Alex Greenwood leaving. No one expected Alex Greenwood to leave. And I think Casey even said it at the time. I think she was sort of a bit blindsided by it, and they didn't know who to get in. So they ended up signing Lotta. This talk that they didn't even look at Lotta, because obviously, like I said, she's the kind of person who sits down and talks to her. But I think Alex left so late in the window that they just didn't have a clue. So that's what led to them making this plan. John obviously then got the director of football for the men's. And I think that's where, well, this is what the Athletics say, where it sort of started to go a bit south, because she had that great relationship with John. She had a great relationship as well, apparently, with Ed Woodward. But she was running it like Fergie's running it. And now we're sort of moving out of that. And it's sort of like a more management, you just manage. We need that person. And whether Ralph is going to be more for the men's and then John sort of comes back to the men's, I don't know. Or whether Ralph goes to John, and I don't know. But an extra person is only going to mean there's more free time for someone. And for me, it makes sense for John to have that free time with the women's, because he knows it. He knows all that squad. He knows probably more about things. Whereas Ralph, I don't think he knows about women's football. But he might surprise us. He might be the expert. But I mean, some of the quotes I've read from him, they have disappointed me. He said about politics should stay out of football and all that kind of thing, and about racism and all that kind of thing. And I'm not. I know you won't be, Andy. You know, we're big supporters. Black Lives Matter, of taking the knee, of Rainbow Devils and all that kind of thing. So if he's got a problem, he's got a problem with me. But anyway, that's by the by. That's another conversation. But I think hopefully Ralph coming in might free up some time, and then this and that. But it's like you say, I do think there is a point where the ambitions are there because they're achieving. But maybe, like I said, they need more people to match that, and then we'll be flying, won't we?
No, definitely. And obviously, I appreciate the time. So we'll probably we've got about 10 minutes left, probably. So what I'll do, I think, is if you can have a little respond to what has been going on in fitness, and then just bring in maybe your topic a little bit at the end. It's just the nature of the beast with so many people. And obviously, we've got going on with a lot of opinions and stuff. So go on, Marty.
I think the season's wearing on them. Casey leaving was definitely a hit. Mark coming in, I don't think is bad. I can't quite figure out what the guy wants to do though, and I think if I can't figure it out, even though I know Connor has a good idea what his plan is, I don't see the players getting the sense of what he wants to do, and maybe he needs, maybe he just needs to work on his communication because he always seems surprised on the sideline when things happen, and I'm thinking, you shouldn't be surprised, bud. If you're surprised, we're in trouble. And I do think that he's trying to be the head, the manager that Man United needs him to be. I do think that he was thinking he'd have a Cinderella season, meaning, he could try to do what he wanted to do, figure out where he needs to go, and have that cup of tea at the end of the season and chat with people. And then all of a sudden he realized quite quickly that no, that's not what happens here. Maybe in Birmingham, yes. Bristol City, yes, but not here. So he's trying, but I think he's also trying. He's holding on way too tight, and he's not letting the players play and think for themselves. So he's getting to like he's very restrictive in a way, I think. And so therefore, if it doesn't quite fit the scenario that he has trained them to be ready for, it's sort of like, okay, well, now what are we supposed to do? Okay. And then they revert. I think that it's a little bit of a mental issue in a way. And I'm not saying the players are crazy, but I am saying that the players are a little bit worn in that they get a lead and then they're having to defend this lead. And they have a sense that it's like, oh, okay, he doesn't expect us to score again. And that's not good. If your manager does not believe in you, you're already behind the 8 ball before you get out on the pitch. Okay, you're already in trouble. Fitness, I have no idea why they seem gassed during the match, but they're gassed. I mean, I'm not kidding. It's where they're not being able to keep up with players. Pernell Harder on that one run. I don't know why somebody didn't take a yellow, okay, for it. It's like for the good of the team foul, okay. I have no idea why. She juked Maria. She got past her, but there were 2 other, Man United defenders there, and I don't understand why somebody didn't reach out and just grab her shirt, okay, outside the box. I don't get it, okay. Even I know that rule, all right. And that's, I'm not your grow up with soccer person, okay. I grew up.
Well done getting to an hour and 7 not using the word soccer, by the way. I appreciate that. I know it's difficult for you guys.
I try. Hey, I'm calling it a pitch and not a field. And
I know, yeah, bonus points. Love you back.
So, I'm working on the language. But they are not prepared to play the 90-plus minutes. They're not.
Correct.
I don't know what all the parameters, as to why they're not. It could be that they don't have it in their legs. It could be that they sort of feel like I'm playing for a losing cause. And I felt so horrible for Ona at the end of Arsenal. She refused to look at anybody. She did the high five, going down the line, and would not look at any single one of the Arsenal players or anybody who she was high-fiving. She just went through it because she's a professional player. And she is probably has had one of her best seasons in terms of defending and showing up for every minute that she plays out there. I don't understand his system in terms of why he's playing the people he's playing for as long as he's playing them. Okay. I don't think he's getting the best out of some players that he really should be. And I do think that it is an underbelly for us that, they can't keep up with whoever they're supposed to be marking. They're not passing well. There are also opportunities that I'm seeing that it's like, okay, well, they should be going this way. And they don't. It's in some cases, in the NFL, there's a mentality that if you're on the goal line, you have to push it through and you have to, drive it in. Okay. And you do it for a first down, you do it for a second down, you do it for a third down, and then the doofus does it for the fourth down and turns over the ball because he still can't drive it in across the goal line. Okay, so sometimes I'm thinking about that in the match. Is I'm going, why is he doing this? You know, you don't knock down the front door if the back door is unlocked. Okay, you just don't do that. It's like, be smarter, play smart football. You have these players that he has, some of them are rookies. Carrie Jones is coming up. Okay. Some of the others don't have as much experience as others, but he does have a good set, a handful of international players that have played all over the world. They know football. They are intellectually, they know how to play. It should not be that much of a leap for Mark to be able to communicate what he wants from them, you know, what the result should be.
I don't want to follow the NFL theme here because they have a 2-minute warning before the end of the game, and I'm going to have to give a 5-minute warning now.
That was my last point.
That's what
that was really my last point.
That's what the deal is. So go on, let's make it a 5-minute.
Why is it becoming so hard for him to tell him what he wants?
Nat, Connor.
I agree. I don't know. I don't think he's good enough, but he's here, and this is what I didn't want him. When the names were coming up, Mark Skinner, I don't think was on anyone's list. He obviously was on the club's list. Maybe it's a cheap thing. I don't know. The guy obviously wanted to leave Orlando because he wanted to come back home. COVID. Fair play to him. He says he wouldn't have left if it wasn't for Man United. But I totally agree with what you said about the whole Birmingham Bristol. I think when the 6-1 happened and he sat there and said, whatever we want to say, man sat there and said, oh, well, it's only this. And that's when I think he saw a different side. And then he sat and did this whole Zone 14 rubbish and he got ripped to shreds. And I think he's learned from that. And I think he's learned this is Man United. You can't be going on sipping tea with the fairies. Whether it's his fault or the player's fault or whether whoever's fault, you're the manager. You're the first person that everyone sees after the game. If we've just been beaten 6-1, it's not good enough. The end. But yeah, he'll learn. He's going to have to learn, isn't he?
He is, and just getting some final sort of flashpoints, really, with the time we've got. So, Stu.
Yes. I think Marty spoke a lot of sense. In fact, everyone on the panel has spoken a lot of sense tonight in terms of identifying certain areas that need addressing. What I would say, though, Marty, is when you get a chance, have a look at the men's side, because we're suffering from the same lack of intelligence player-wise.
I don't watch the men. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and these guys have been playing football for years. You're absolutely right. The basics of football are imprinted and ingrained into your brain. That should never change when you step over that white line onto that pitch.
100%.
It's the moulding of it where we've got the slight problem. So,
Connor, just to finish with you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have too much to add. I think Skinner's style, I know people might find it confusing. It's very possession-based and keep the ball safe. That's what it is. He likes to play it around the back four and play it into the midfield. The problem he's got is that midfielder is not dropping deep like he wants to. So that goes back to the point that we've all made across this hour-long 15 special, that he doesn't necessarily have the players to do the job that he wants yet. They are brilliant players, but they're not necessarily understanding what he wants them to do, and that is a big problem. But it's something that can be rectified because there is time on the training pitch that we're not even halfway through the season yet. There is time to rectify. I've said before, I think the demise of City has put more pressure on him. And that 6-1 defeat, as Nat has just mentioned, gave him a bit of a reality shock. It's all very well and good talking about the fans and talking about how good it is and everything's great. Fans are brilliant. And then you get beat 6-1 at home to City. And then it's like, oh, God.
Chelsea.
Chelsea.
Oh, no. Oh. Do you know what it is? It's because I was looking at something else. Anyway, yeah, you get my point. He lost 6-1 to City. I say it again.
Right, anyway, while we're coming to the table to work out who's played in WSL,
just take it off me.
Don't worry. We'll show you the table in a bit. But no, as I say, we could have gone on for a lot longer. I think it's fair to say that one of the best things about the fan base and for people on All for United Women is we all have opinions and we all care passionately about the club, about the players, about the manager, about the whole women's football in general. And I would say, it's always fun to be on the panel. It's fun to be in the comments as well. We are going to disagree, but you remember who you're disagreeing with is someone is equally with passion and fire, and that's great. Whistle to whistle. End of the show, we're still United fans, and part of the fun is fighting again next week. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So. Yeah, obviously we'll just do the wrap up now, and obviously, Connor, if anyone wanted to find out, that 6-1 was against Chelsea and not City, where would they go? Where would they go and look at your stuff?
I know it's not going to be a good sell, is it? My Twitter's there. What I will say though, if you are interested, obviously, if you're a fan of Manchester United Sport, the men's side, me and Benny have got a show every Monday that we do at 6:00. We have potentially got one of the biggest guests on All for United we've ever had. I can't say any more than that, but we're very, very close to getting that over the line. So definitely come and check that out. That is going to be massive. But yeah, just subscribe to this channel as well. Let's get. I don't know how many subs are on this channel, but like and subscribe on this video.
Yeah, subscribe,
definitely. Now, where do you find you?
Yeah, Twitter's there, whichever way it is. But yeah, definitely. If you enjoyed this video, get on the bus, get joining, get singing, sing all the way down to Brighton. £20. So hit us up.
I should come get you, Stu.
I will be. I tend to do the tactical preview on the men's channel, and uncut and timeline talk. So I'm quite a regular on the men's channel, and you can argue with me here once a fortnight. I think it seems to be. So feel free.
So we're starting to sell tickets. It's fine. It's going well, Marty.
You can send me a tweet. I usually answer. I get into a bunch of discussions with people, and I follow Man United women. I don't really watch a lot of the men, so I don't have a real good opinion on that. But I love sports, and I do apply different sports to other sports, as you can tell. So
no, definitely.
And thank you very much for inviting me.
No, it's good to have you on, Tommy.
Yeah, you can find me on the United Star covering everything about United women, and follow me on my Twitter at @Atanu_74.
That's brilliant. Well, obviously, I'm going to have a lie down now. But apart from that, let's as you say, thanks, Chloe, and I'll see everyone again next week.